Hey everybody, Jamie, CEO, CTO, founder of Virtual Sprout, traveling today in San Antonio for a cybersecurity conference, so doing this remote. But we are kicking off a new series around the IRS Safeguards Rule, very similar to the series that we just did, which was the FTC Safeguards Rule explained, where we broke down the rule and the cybersecurity controls into bite-sized chunks so that it was easy for you to understand how to comply with that requirement. Now we're doing the same thing with the IRS Safeguards Rule. The IRS Safeguards Rule revolves around protecting FTI, or federal taxpayer information, very similar to NPI, non-public information, with the FTC Safeguards Rule requirements. There are some slight differences that we're going to go over in the series. Predominantly, though, the differences revolve around reporting requirements. The IRS Safeguards Rule has an annual reporting requirement where you need to attest to them your compliance. There's some other aspects to it. And then there are nuances around the actual cybersecurity controls themselves. It is likely that if you're preparing taxes or dealing with taxpayer data, that you're not only required to comply with the IRS safeguards portion, but the FTC safeguards portion as well. And the good news is a lot of this overlaps the similar controls between one and the other. And when you have differences, if you default to the more stringent set of controls, you'll comply with both. Remember also on the FTC side, the reporting requirement is really around once a breach occurs, you need to make reports to the FTC about that breach. And it's at that point they check to see if you had been compliant in the past. If you had not, there might be fines. The IRS Safeguards Rule does also have fines and penalties and all that kind of stuff. A little more ambiguous as to what those may be. Determined at the time of the breach. And I'm sure it goes into if you had been saying you were compliant but had not been compliant and there was a leak, then there would be additional, probably harsher penalties. So again, we're going to go over this over the next several months. We're going to break down these controls, but wanted to kind of kick off the series and let you know that we're going to dive into this just like we did the FTC piece by piece by piece. I'm sure you may have questions related to the IRS Safeguards Rule, or maybe even the FTC Safeguards Rule, or cybersecurity in general. A great resource is to hop into a cyber strategy call with one of our security pros, cyber-strategy.virtualsprout.com, or we host a briefing every Tuesday that you can get into where we talk about the latest breaches that have occurred. We talk about compliance. We talk about cybersecurity, and it's a small group, one-on-one type feedback. Generally gets to be 6 to 8 people. Great learning opportunity, no sales zone. So if you're interested in that, just reach out via the link and we can get you the information for the briefing. So a briefing and or a cyber strategy session, both free options, both great resources if you have questions. And I would expect next week we'll start diving into these controls, and we'll see you then. Talk to you soon.